We are talking Squeeze Trivia. It's our first Monster of the Week episode. That term was applied by the X-Files Usenet fans to differentiate between these weird tales and the UFO extraterrestrial conspiracy myth arc of the series. The trope itself began with the 1960s TV program The Outer Limits, which was competing with The Twilight Zone for science fiction fans of the day. Now, The Outer Limits' selling point was promising a new monster every week. Keep this in mind. In the background of the opening shot, we see Oceanic Plaza. That, dear friend, is not in Baltimore, Maryland. If you're a longtime fan of the show, you already know that this episode, along with nearly every episode of the first 5 seasons, was filmed in Vancouver, Canada.
Just got bumped up. Foreign Counterintelligence, New York City Bureau, Supervisory Special Agent.
Supervisory?
That's right.
2 years out of the academy? How do you land that?
Elected into the World Trade Center bombing.
I mentioned previously that I'd have to start recording when the X-Files made a prediction about the future that comes true. This one isn't quite there, but Agent Colden is envious that a colleague, quote, lucked into the World Trade Center bombing and earned himself a promotion. That's not quite a prediction, but, I wonder how that guy's career turned out.
So, Mulder, what do you think? Does this look like the work of Little Green Men?
Gray.
Excuse me?
Gray. You said green men. A reticulant skin tone is actually gray. They're notorious for their extraction of terrestrial human livers, due to iron depletion in the reticulum galaxy.
You can't be...
Little green men seem to originate from Washington Irving, the man who wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. He wrote a story in 1809 about these small pea-green skinned people who lived on the moon, who he referred to as lunatics. Now, little gray men, or the gray aliens that you're most familiar with, are obviously a much more modern origin. Now, this is a bit of a trivia tangent, but Mulder did bring it up. He made a joke about it, so it's fair game. In September of 1961, Barney and Betty Hill spotted a UFO near Lancaster, New Hampshire, while they were driving home that evening. They stopped, and after which they seemed to experience lost time. They do remember encountering a group of strange people that they did not believe were humans. They reported this event to a friend in the Air Force and also to an investigator from NICAP. Following this encounter, Betty would go on to have a series of distinct and impactful dreams. And they left her with this impression of what she called a star map. And it indicated that these humanoids that she encountered were actually from the Zeta 2 Reticula star system. Now, these events were basically traumatic for these two people, for this couple. And they struggled with understanding what had happened and also fully remembering the incident. As I mentioned, they experienced lost time. So they decided that they would undertake regression hypnosis. Does this sound familiar to you? The account of the results of their hypnosis altered their story somewhat. They recalled stopping the car, encountering the UFO as it descended, and it had something like bat wings. And a group of small gray-skinned men with large black eyes who could communicate telepathically, approached them, told them not to be afraid, and then took them into the woods. Betty remembers that a couple of them were dressed like Air Force cadets. Now, this event was in late February of 1962, the hypnosis. 2 weeks before this, the television program The Outer Limits aired an episode called The Bolero Shield, featuring an alien being that looked remarkably similar in several ways to the description and sketch done by the Hills. Of course, this TV show was filmed in black and white at the time, so it had sort of a light gray appearance. So it would seem that the monster of the week is twofold here. Fox is telling Agent Colton a joke about the gray reticulants as provided by The Outer Limits and Barney and Betty Hill.
Is your full name Eugene Victor Toombs?
Yes.
Are you an employee of the Baltimore Municipal Animal Control?
Yes.
Is it your...
Liver-eating Eugene Victor Toombs is played by Doug Hutchison, who happens to be a devoted vegetarian. He's had several roles as a villain or killer, and also appeared in an episode of Millennium. It may be that you remember him for another reason. When he was 51, he married 16-year-old Courtney Stodden, who had taken his acting class. The show hired a special contortionist for the stunt squeeze scenes. The best being when Toombs is fitting into the chimney.
No, I did find one thing, though. It's the current address of the investigating officer of the Powhatan Mill murders in 1933.
Powhatan Mill, site of the first liver extraction murder in 1903, was in fact a real place. It was a cotton mill town in southern Baltimore County. The mill burned down in 1895. Most of the inhabitants had migrated out, and in 1902 it was purchased by a nearby cemetery called Woodlawn, planning for an expansion, as people were dying that had never died before. Squeeze was a difficult episode to film. The writers and cast had some irreconcilable differences with director Harry Longstreet. In particular, Longstreet wanted Duchovny to play Mulder as being furious, righteously angry at the perceived barbarity of Toombs' murders. Duchovny, however, felt almost just the opposite. He thought Toombs as a character was basically a sympathetic figure, constrained or imprisoned by his own unique mutated physiology. So it made him more of a predator than a normal human. It compelled him to kill and hibernate by virtue of his genetics. So Carter would have to can Longstreet and bring in Michael Cattleman to finish the episode. He also shot some scenes that Longstreet didn't want to film. So it may be that we were fortunate to get Squeeze at all. It's a good thing, too. I don't think we've seen the last of Eugene Toombs. That's it. That's Squeeze Trivia. Next episode, number 4, Conduit.